I left the theater being like, oh my gosh, is Marvel back? Like, I don't want to be too optimistic, but I kind of am. Crazy Stupid Podcast.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If this is your first time watching, we'd love it if you could hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell so that you are aware of when we post things.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Crazy Stupid Podcast. My name is Esther.
And I'm Adrian.
And we're here to talk about Thunderbolts.
So this will be a spoiler-free review for the most part. There's going to be a portion in the video where we'll let you all know to tune out if you haven't seen the movie. All
right, cool. Good time.
Yes.
Honestly, like, I left the theater being like, oh my gosh, is Marvel back? Like, I don't want to be too optimistic, but I kind of am.
Yeah, and not just with the quality of this film, but even the after credit scenes give you an insight. There are things for you to look forward to.
When is the last time that we got the "they will return" message? Like, honestly, that was such a throwback for me. Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh, it's been a while since we've seen that. I was happy. It made me feel good.
Some other things that I really liked about this movie is that each character had their time, for the most part, where they're a little bit more fleshed out. But overall, this is a Florence Pugh sort of like taking the role of like what RDJ did for the Avengers, where it's an ensemble cast, but it's sort of centered on a person, which helps, especially in superhero movies, because it kind of keeps everyone grounded while you're watching it.
And they let her act too.
Yes.
We got to see the classic Florence Pugh lip tremble. She definitely got to show off, just like the spectrum of emotion that she can portray.
Yes.
Because the film let us feel a spectrum of emotion.
Yeah. And also, Sebastian Stan was incredible, which, I mean, that's a given. But David Harbour, oh my goodness. Every time he is on the screen, he's my favorite person.
He's definitely like the comedic relief in the film. Like, he always comes in and kind of like lightens the mood a little bit.
But he also has some very, very good acted out heartfelt moments.
Yes, he does.
With Florence Pugh. Mm-hmm. And that I really appreciate. I also feel like after the last Captain America film, there was a lot of vitriol pointed at people that didn't like the movie. Not because of Anthony Mackie. Like, I love Anthony Mackie. I wish him nothing but the best. I love him as Captain America. I think he's incredible anytime he's been in a Marvel movie. But as a whole, I didn't think that movie was that great. And I feel like a lot of the rhetoric that I was seeing online for people that disliked it was this rhetoric of like, you're asking for too much. Just go in and enjoy a movie. But that was never, at least for me, my experience with Marvel. I did not have to just quote unquote go in and have a good time. I was having a good time while watching a really good film. And I feel like that was not always the case with some of the movies and TV shows that had come out. After watching Thunderbolts, this is what I feel like I was trying to say after Captain America 4. You're having a good time, and there is a clear message that the director and writer wanted to get across. The acting is incredible. The cinematography is really good. And there was a point in making the film.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like what we've gotten a lot recently is you're making the movie just to make the movie. But this is definitely stands apart because they had something that they wanted to say.
Yes.
I also think it's worth pointing out that this was a really enjoyable movie and a well-made movie, and it wasn't like an Avengers Infinity War in-game level thing. Like, I feel like people thought when everybody was complaining and saying like these movies weren't good, people were like, every movie's not going to be Infinity War, every movie's not going to be in-game or No Way Home. And it's like, we're not asking for that. We just want the film that you make to be good.
Yes.
And Thunderbolts did that. It's a good movie. I know that the characters are pulled from across different Marvel films, but it does not feel like a huge crossover movie. Mm-hmm. It feels like an origin story for this group of people, and it's well done, and it's just them. They're the only ones in it. We're not pulling in all these other people. So nobody was ever asking for every single Marvel movie post Endgame to be in-game level events. We just want the quality that we had gotten accustomed to in the first three phases to continue. And that's not to say all the movies in the first three phases were great. No. We all remember Thor: Dark World. Okay. We know there was a general excitement about what was coming next in the Marvel universe that we kind of lost in this past phase that I am starting to feel come back.
Yes. You walk out of this movie with Thunderbolts and you compare it to some of the other Marvel movies, and you're like, there was a clear difference in quality. And you know that is the case because people aren't just walking out saying, I had a fun time. That was not what I heard.
No, it was genuinely good.
Yes.
And it was Marvel. It's not like they did something new like that they've never done before. It is a Marvel movie that follows the Marvel formula, okay? So people who are like into like the classic Marvel films will enjoy it.
Yes.
I think that's another thing too, is like there's also this idea from people who maybe don't like the MCU in general or kind of look down on it as like whatever. There's you know, those they're kind of snobby people, whatever. But there's this like attitude from them like, I don't understand, like this is like all the movies are the same, like this movie is delivering what you guys say that you like, why are you complaining about it? And it's like, no, even within the Marvel formula there are, like you said, levels. They don't always deliver the formula as well. Yes. Right? But this is an example of them doing a very good job with it. It felt like a Marvel movie and it had something to say and it had strong performances and strong action sequences and we had a good laugh and it was a good movie.
Yes. And I think that's what sometimes people feel like Marvel needed to move away from their formula. And you would see sometimes even with like Eternals, which I loved, and I you know, that might be a hot take for some, but you could feel even in a movie like that, there was this tug and pull of like the creative direction and where Chloe Zhao wanted to go versus maybe what MCU was trying to encourage her to go. And I feel like people felt like that's why Marvel was failing, that because the formula had gotten stale. But Thunderbolts follows that formula. The difference is you could tell that they let the director and the writers like have a lot more agency. Same thing with the Black Panther movies. You can feel that there's some agency there, even though there's that Marvel feel that's still attached to it. Guardians of the Galaxy is the same thing. I feel like what we were getting in some of these other movies that were coming out, like Quantumania, I'm sorry, but like the last Thor movie, even with Captain America, again, I love Anthony Mackie. I want to be clear. This is not an invitation for racist people to come in and say their nonsense. But that felt more so like a studio just putting out a corporate movie. It did not feel like it had the soul in comparison to what we got in the last Guardians of the Galaxy or what we got in Thunderbolts or what we got in WandaVision and especially in moments like in Loki. That, I think, is the difference.
The directing was also very good. It seems like it's a director that's kind of been on the scene for a while, but has not done a lot of major things. Like, it kind of seems like their career is starting to pick up a little bit now. So that is exciting. Named Jake Schreier. So that's also nice, too. A new director in the Marvel mix.
Yeah, we can probably pivot a little bit over to spoilers now. So if you haven't watched the movie, this would be a time for you to deuce out. But if you have, feel free to stick around. First and foremost, Sentry, oh my God.
I prefer to call him Bob.
Bob. Shout out to a real one, Bob, yo.
Who is that, like a new actor? I don't know that actor. I'm not sure.
I'm not too familiar with him.
But I like that he's like, to me at least, kind of unknown. Because it adds to like this character just being like a random guy. Yeah. You know?
It's not too distracting when it's like a star name.
Yeah. It's just like when he just showed up in the room where they were locked in, like, it's like, wait, who is this person?
Yeah.
Like, you feel that as a viewer too, because it's like literally, who is this guy? Like, I've never even seen this face before.
Also, the actor showed some incredible range where when he's first introduced there, you can feel the weight of the insecurities that he's dealing with. But then when Allegra works with him, there is a sense of confidence that you sort of mentioned. It's not real confidence. It's fragile. But the way he's portraying it, and there's a fight scene that he has with all of the Thunderbolts where you're like, yo, whoa.
Yeah. He is a character that is like overpowered, I will say.
Yeah.
When they introduced him, I was like, I was scared. I was like, is he gonna have to die? Because
how else?
I just don't really know how you can have a character like this in the films. Now, they seem to have found a at least temporary solution wherein he does not utilize his powers.
But they kept him around, and I love that.
I love that it's just the Thunderbolts and Bob. Like, he's just like their little friend that hangs around. I think that is so cute. Talking about I did the dishes. Like, I love that.
I can't give my praises enough to Florence Pugh with what she's done with Yelena. I always had a love for Yelena, especially with what we got in Hawkeye, but this brought it to another level for sure.
Yeah.
And I liked that they spent time unpacking some of the feelings that they were trying to explore in a lot of the original projects that these characters were in. Like Yelena losing Natasha in because of what happens in Endgame. That was sort of touched in the Black Widow movie, kind of sort of touched in Hawkeye. But this, you really feel the weight of the loneliness that she's exploring, that she's feeling. The same thing with John Walker. I think you could tell COVID played a role with Falcon and Winter Soldier. And so we couldn't spend as much time unpacking like how much of a failure he has felt about himself since what he did with the Flag Smashers. Here we're getting that again, and so I really like that as well. And also this idea of like Bucky becoming a congressman. At first I thought that was kind of kooky, but now I'm realizing he's getting into politics to try to fight against people like Allegra, who are exploiting humans, turning them into weapons and super soldiers, because he doesn't want people to have to go through what he went through, and that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. First of all, I have questions, because what state voted for Bucky to be? Love Bucky.
He is also a Nazi.
I'm like, yo, what? Who was his campaign manager? How did they get the people to vote for him? Because I just feel like the opposition, like the narrative is already made for you. Like, he killed Iron Man's parents. Yeah. And that's out in the open now, isn't it? Because they made all that shit open after Civil War. Like, I can't believe. Anyway.
Now, granted, he was not, he was being controlled.
No, I know, but I just feel like people... He doesn't even control his own mind. How can you trust him to control your state? Like, you know, like you see, like, anyways.
I think some of it is because of he's put in a lot of work to redeem himself before he ran for office, because there's still things that happened with Infinity War, in Endgame, what happened with the Flag Smashers in Falcon Winter Soldier. You could tell he had been doing the work.
Yeah.
Again, spoilers if you haven't that tuned out. They're the Avengers, I guess. What the But I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
I love it. And also, like, I understand, I guess they're trying to build up to some sort of tension between these Avengers and whatever Anthony Mackie got going on over there.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I just think that these are cooler. I just think that they seem cooler.
Thunderbolts.
Yes.
Yes. So that's what I was saying when we walked out.
I just think that they have a little bit more of an aura.
They got more aura, bro. I'm telling you.
Maybe it's because we've seen them together. Like, I know that they dropped the casting for like who's going to be the some of the new his team that he's putting together, and we just have not seen them together. So maybe we see them together, and I will say, like, the chemistry of this team, I feel like, is going to be hard to match. Like, this group of people. And that's kind of amazing that it worked out that way, because some of these people were casted with no intention of ever interacting. So the fact that, like, their teams all gel, that their team gels like this, and that the chemistry of the actors is so strong is, like, kind of, I think, a big deal.
Yeah. Yelena is definitely, like, the main character, but Red Guardian to me is like the soul of the group. He's the one that's trying to push them to take this seriously, because I think he notices how much they all need it in his own, like, kooky way. Like, when they're on the drive away from the base, when they freed Bob, he notices that something had changed in Yelena once she started to work with the team, and she hadn't even noticed it yet. And he says it very briefly in, like, a joking way, but I caught it and I was like, oh, I love that.
Yeah, and you could see on her face that she's like,
he's kind of right.
Yeah. The scene that Yelena and the Red Guardian had on the sidewalk, when she looks at him and is like, I have been so lonely. Yeah. Just heartbreaking, but also just beautiful. I feel like this film did so much to just talk about the importance of vulnerability, like being vulnerable with the people around you. Like, what the defining characteristic of all of these characters is that they are people who refuse to let their guard down, right? There are people who are like, no, I'm a badass. That's like the one thing that I have going for me.
Yeah.
And so I can't allow people to see my vulnerabilities. It's part of what made John Walker so unlikable in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And I think, honestly, the only reason why they were able to make him a character that you feel comfortable rooting for in this movie is because we saw his vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
And that's like a tough ask, because I really hated him. Like, I hated him a lot. Like, everybody, I think, should really go back and remember the moment that we saw him with the shield.
Dear God, in the helmet.
And it was pure hatred for that character. And it only got worse because he then used the shield to murder somebody in a very memorable and jarring scene. So for us to come from there to now where I'm like, you know what? I kind of like you. You're kind of funny too. Mm-hmm. Like, that's a lot for them to do. And like you said, like, most of this film really centered on Yelena, but they did a lot just by allowing us to see the things that he has been struggling with. And I feel like that is such a good parallel for the actual theme of the movie, right? We as viewers are experiencing how when a person is vulnerable with you, it humanizes them for you, and it allows you to feel empathy for them. And so while people think that being vulnerable is going to make them seem weak, it actually just makes you seem more human, and it's the key to connection.
Yeah.
We only feel connected to these characters now because we understand what they have been going through, and that's the same thing that they had to learn as characters in the film.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's just so good because you really couldn't have told the story with anybody else. It had to be this group of people.
Yeah. This is how I felt after Winter Soldier and Civil War. I'm like, I cannot wait to see them again. Mm-hmm. It's been a while since I have felt that way. I think maybe with Shuri, that was the last time I was like, I need to see this person on screen again. So this is just like almost like a bit of like a sigh of relief.
Yes, like, we might be okay.
I know. And then, okay, again, spoiler if you haven't watched it. Spoiler alert. The post-credit scene where they're pointing at like friction between like these quote unquote two Avengers groups because Sam Wilson is creating his own, and then we see the fucking Fantastic Four. Listen, I think it's Michael Giacchino who did the music.
I do think though now I think the task at hand for Marvel now is, you cannot make us wait 5 years to see these characters.
Oh my God. Well, we are getting the Avengers next year. Yeah, they've already started the script, and they're filming. Yeah, they're moving.
That's crazy. I do think that they're going to have to start to think really strategically about which characters are we going to prioritize. Mm-hmm. I think, like, because there's no way that we can see all of these characters this often. But there's got to be a few of them that we see pretty consistently. Yes. And I think, we went through a little experimental phase. Maybe now let's pay attention to like, who are the fan favorites, the people that we gravitated towards the most, and maybe let's focus in there and, I don't know, get some cameos from some other people. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But yeah, like, I just feel like some of these characters, like, we cannot wait forever to see them. Because you brought up Shuri, and I'm like, dang, I did feel like that after Wakanda Forever, and I ain't seen it since.
It's interesting because what you're saying I think is true, but I do also think the connection that we have with these newer characters is based on the quality of the films.
That's definitely true. While I do think that the movie does follow like that Marvel formula, the big fight, the whatever, I do think that one of the key differences in this film was like the resolution to the problem was not the fighting and the conflict.
That's a good point.
And I did really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because when he was in that room, Void, and he's just like beating the void down, and I was like, I don't think this is how we should solve this problem. Bucky was like, this isn't right. And I was like, yeah, it's not right. Because when you're making a movie about vulnerability and about, the things that you are ashamed of, the answer is not to beat those things down. The answer is embracing it and being open and honest about it with the people around you. The answer is community. Yeah. And so I love that the resolution was not him overcoming it through violence. It was him overcoming it through the community that he's built.
Yeah.
But yes, what a way to make us fall in love with this team.
Shout out to a real one, Bob. Anyways, y'all, those are our thoughts. Let us know in the comment section below about how you feel about Thunderbolts if you've seen it yet. We'd love to hear your opinions on the movie. And with that, we will see you all next time. Take care, everyone. Peace.